Hello and welcome to the third and final installment of the Jake reviews all the movies he watched in 2023 series. I'm currently hideous. I need a haircut really bad, but I'm going on vacation next week, a week and a half, so I have to finish this video pretty quickly, and it's January 1st and the year just wrapped up, and I figured let's get started on it. I tapped out at around 109 movies, so the part one of this kind of overestimated how much I'd be watching, but holidays gets busy. There's been a lot going on, so let's just jump right into it. Okay, The Great Silence. This is the first cowboy film. No, I was gonna lie. I was gonna say this was the first cowboy film I watched that wasn't Sergio Leone, but that's wrong. We watched My Darling Clementine, which was not him. Yeah, actually, on second thought, I've been thinking about this list. I've been thinking about it. We might need some big changes before we even get into the new movies. Because we now know the final number is 109, it's been tightened up a little bit with the lower sections being smaller. But what's probably going to happen throughout this entire video is everything is going to have to slowly be pushed to the bottom. Because, as I expected, I really didn't watch that many bad movies this year. So, just right off the bat, let's just grab this whole section. Actually, let's put this here. Sorry, anybody who likes that movie. It's really fine. It's not that bad. It's just I've watched a lot of good stuff. Do a couple things real quick. Sonic stocks are up. I was thinking about it. Got to be true to myself. The movie is a lot more basic, but I had a much better time watching that movie than the Mario movie. We're coming out fierce. We're coming out aggressive. Let's throw Street Fighter below Mario. Yeah, that's where it was before. That's where it'll stay. Everything in here is probably gonna have to go down. At least these ones for sure. Mirror Cracked is fucking bad. It's bad. The Mirror Cracked is bad, man. It's a bad movie. I let it get away with a lot. It's just not great. It's just too boring. I'm a killer. I'm a goddamn killer. They'll have to go lower later, but okay, that's fine. That's enough for a starting point. I think I'm okay with everything now. I think I'm okay. We're good enough to start. We will get more serious with our analysis later. So, back where I left off, The Great Silence. At first, this movie does not start great, but I don't think it's because the beginning is bad. I think this movie is kind of sneaky. This movie, plays up to some of the cowboy tropes, but it's very heavy-handed. It doesn't really make the main character necessarily look that cool. It just makes him look ridiculous and everyone else like horrifically idiotic. And I won't spoil how it ends, but it really won me over by the ending where I was like, damn, wait a minute, I completely misjudged this. The way this all finishes up is pretty sick. And again, it's not a Sergio Leone film, so I'm pretty sure it's just like an hour and a half. Might be like a 2-hour movie. But I really like this one, so bad beginning, good end. We'll throw The Great Silence above My Darling Clementine. It's not centered because I'm a absolutely terrible video maker, but I'll throw that up there. And I really want to put stuff above My Darling Clementine, but I think I'm at war with that movie for some reason. I want to call that movie out all the time. The Big Lebowski. Okay, this is a movie that I was pretty sure I would vibe with for a really long time. Definitely something I should have watched like years ago. This movie is funny as advertised, and it really hits some nostalgic feeling, like good vibes. Any scene that's in like the bowling alley is generally pretty great. What I was most surprised about with this movie is people just, talk about all the quotable lines and stuff. There's like a kind of a legit like thriller plot line going on where there's like this kind of complicated mystery, and the point of it isn't really that, it's not to be taken like super seriously, I think, but it actually like swings for the fences with the plot a lot more than I expected going in. This was a really fun movie. I think I was a little sad by some things with the ending, but absolutely a good movie. Definitely not a bad one. Could easily see this. Psycho's this low? What is wrong with my list, bro? Let's put it next to our friend, The Great Silence. Don't I love Psycho? I mean, I like a lot of these films. I just remembered. I got called out for the very first thing. Well, there's been a couple comments, which are all in good fun. I remembered liking both these movies similarly, the One Piece ones. Apparently, upon reflection and upon discussion, I highly overrated One Piece Film Gold. One Piece Film Gold is fun. We'll put it down around the other one, probably. But it's actually... One Piece Film Red is like an actual, like, emotionally, like, complete story. Like, I don't think I was crying at the end, but I was, like, kind of close. Like, I could have been crying. We'll put gold above that still. Okay, let's sort that out. Didn't forget. I remembered. The Big Lebowski. Like, The Usual Suspects is too high. Oh my god. I mean, this list is just a fucking nightmare. It's just an absolute nightmare. Put Psycho. No, these are all good movies. I just have a couple weird stragglers that have remained higher than they should. This is just getting complicated. Let's take Prisoners and throw it down just a little bit. There's gonna be a lot of copying and pasting this episode, I think. I'll do my best to cut out the most annoying, the slow of it. So, Big Lebowski, overall, final thoughts. It was a good film, a good time. Now, Demolition Man, this is a crazy fucking movie. It's like a satire of like action films. This movie is completely bonkers. It does a really amazing job at creating like an alien future where like things are really weird. And I had a great time watching this one. This is a kind of a funny or weird story. Is that maybe I'm crazy, but I thought this movie was like setting up like an incest plot line at one point in time. You'd have to watch it for that comment to make sense. Apparently I was nuts for that, but I think there's some legitimate fucking evidence. If you've seen this movie and you want to talk about it, fucking hit me up on my stream sometime. We can talk about Demolition Man. A good movie. Also, a fun fact I learned is that there's like a restaurant scene which has some greater implications to like the future. And I was talking about this movie with my friend, and I think he was making like Pizza Hut jokes or something, and I was like, what? Don't they go to Taco Bell? Apparently it's like a difference. In the PAL version, it's Taco Bell. In North America, it's like Pizza Hut. It's like a really weird thing to change. I could be getting those like flipped, vice versa, but Demolition Man was a fun movie. I'm not gonna rate it super highly, but a good 3-star film. Good film. The Maltese Falcon. Okay, this was, I think, the first movie I watched for a podcast. There's a movie podcast I'm getting into that's hosted by like League of Legends analysts, which is very funny that they're doing film stuff, but they're actually pretty knowledgeable, or they're older guys. They're experienced with doing some good research on this kind of stuff. So it's been a lot of fun podcast to listen to while I'm working. And they did a month on noir films. And this was the first movie I watched with them. They describe it as like the blueprint, original, classic, standard noir film. This was another Humphrey Bogart movie, which, didn't completely blow me away or knock me out, but it was great. There's a very famous quote, I assume, at like the end of the movie, where it's like, damn, that is a good ass quote. It has a lot of the same actors from Casablanca too. I found myself a little critical of the femme fatale, whatever her name is in this movie. I do think that her performance, it's not bad. A lot of people really like it, so this could be a hot take, but just like, she was not exactly, I don't know. She's doing a very good job in the story of trying to, do what she needs to do, but I just didn't quite super connect with the character like I, hoped. Or I like that trope typically in movies, so, Now, where on earth are we gonna put this? I think, let's put it above The Great Silence. I don't want to like super overrate The Great Silence, but it was a good film. Big Lebowski over The Maltese Falcon. That sounds fine for now. We're gonna all come back to this and give this a very thorough look, but The Room, the most memed upon movie of all time. I was hopeful that I would have a dumb, fun time watching this movie. But it turns out all the funny scenes from this movie I already know because the internet just quotes them forever. And B, the rest of this movie is fucking terrible. Watching this by myself was an absolute miserable fucking time. This is definitely a movie you want to watch with friends. Probably while drinking. I hadn't actually thought about it, but it could potentially be worse than Morocco. We'll come back to that. We might have to switch that up. Okay. The Last Duel. Ridley Scott, I believe. Apparently this movie bombed in the office, I'm told. But I think it came out during COVID 2021. This stars Matt Damon and Adam Driver, with Jodie Comer playing the female lead, who, not a name I recognize, but all three of them were great. This movie is like set in ye olden times. Gives me like Witcher vibes without the magic, kind of feudal Europe period, whatever you want to call it. This is basically a perspective piece about two friends who have some dramatic events happen, and you see the events portrayed through multiple perspectives. It does a fantastic job of showcasing the change of the relationship over time and really building up towards the last duel. There's a duel in the movie, I'll say that. I do think the perspective shtick, while it never actually was boring, this movie's kind of long, and when it begins the last perspective, it's it feels a little exhausting. Oh my god, we're going back to the beginning again, which is sad because the last perspective in this movie is the most important one, pretty unarguably. Yeah, I was really surprised though. This movie was really good. It's beautiful, well shot from what I remember. Gonna be a high scoring movie, I think. Just a little bit long, and yeah, potentially, it can feel long, just to say. but still better than a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Better than Mary and Max. Sorry, Tim. I'm going to say yes. The Last Duel feels pretty easily. It just feels a little bit more rewatchable to me. Killers of the Flower Moon. Not the last Scorsese film I saw this year, but his most recent work. And I think the only movie I watched that takes place in Oklahoma. So, big points for that. This movie makes Oklahoma look pretty. But I guess maybe 100 years ago or whatever, maybe it was pretty. I live in a pretty bad area of Oklahoma to judge the value of its nature. I'm sure it's still pretty elsewhere. This movie is fucking incredible. The dread it makes you feel, especially like in the middle of the movie, was so powerful. It was so perfect. But I cannot stand by the fact that this movie is 3.5 hours long. It does not feel like it needs to be. It's not bad because it is, but it was testing me, man. In the theaters, I was absolutely wandering in the final third of the movie mentally. I told my friend after the movie, I watched it with a friend. I was like, yeah, I started like thinking about like Dust Force, and he called me some words that are potentially not PG enough for my YouTube channel. I was like, yeah, it's a little weird, but I was just like, it was great when it was great. It's beautiful when it's beautiful. But it's just too fucking long, man. It's just too long. It feels like a terrifying movie to rewatch. Partially because it's an upsetting movie, and partially because it's so fucking long. How about this? Let's put The Thin Man to Oppenheimer all up one. Let's take Killers of the Flower Moon and dump it. Putting it right next to Oppenheimer feels like a cop-out. Let's take The Handmaiden and space them out a little bit. Good movies. 2 big blockbusters this year. Do you call them a blockbuster? I don't know. To Live and Die in LA. Okay, this movie was very hyped up to me in one of the Discords I'm in. And I think its beginning is just, it felt basic. It didn't particularly feel like, oh yeah, this is some, earth-shattering, like, must-remember stuff. But similar to The Great Silence, this movie is also very sinister and sneaky. And it's kind of building up its final trick or reveal. And it just, the last, hour or so ends fucking really strong. And it takes a movie that seemed so kind of meatheadish or not it felt very surface level. It's like, wow, wait a minute, this movie's kind of fucking deep. There's a lot to think about there. This was a fun movie. I don't think it's going to super high rank on the list here, but I could put it. How about this? We'll crack The Great Silence and The Maltese Falcon in half. Oh, those movies are getting pushed down, man. They're getting pushed down. We'll let To Live and Die in LA sit at the top of Mountain of Bananas. Paris, Texas. Okay. I don't quite live in Texas, but I maybe would like to visit Paris after watching this movie. This is another decently long movie from what I remember. Not like Scorsese long, but maybe like 2.5 hours. What we got? Yeah, 225. This movie did not particularly come across as long to me. This movie is really emotionally powerful. I think the beginning half and the middle are some crazy stuff where you're learning about this man. I'm always a sucker for any movies kind of about like memory, and that plays a part in this movie. It gets really good, and at the end, I think people really probably love the end of this movie. To me, I was very, emotionally spent, and I was ready for it to just punch me, knock me the fuck out. I was ready to cry, and I didn't. I felt like it missed me a little bit. I'm not saying it was a bad ending. It's definitely a thought-provoking one, but I just felt like I wasn't super. I don't know. I'm not. It just didn't quite connect with me on the level that I'm gonna ramble about it and tell everybody about it. I'll be like, oh my god, I had the best time watching this movie. It's like, damn, that was a good movie. I have things to think about. Some of the character decisions and like, So, a good time, a worthwhile movie. But maybe not going to rank it as high as others would on this list. I'm thinking, how about we put it as better than Parasite? Fuck you, Parasite. Fuck you. Alright, Castle of Cagliostro. This is technically the second time I watched this movie, but I'm allowing this to count for the list because the first time I watched it, I'm pretty sure I had been drinking, and I'm pretty sure I slept through like half of it. So does that really count as a viewing? I don't know. This is the most famous Lupin film. End of sentence. I don't think it's debatable. People could argue that some of the other ones are maybe better, but this one is the famous one. It's directed by Miyazaki. I think his first big budget film, or full feature film, whatever. This is before he would go on to create Ghibli, so it's obviously historically a very important movie. And on a rewatch, I grew to appreciate this a lot more. I like Lupin a lot more than I did back then. I think right when I watched this was maybe like the beginning of me kind of getting into Lupin, and maybe I wasn't as appreciative of the older art style, but this movie is beautiful. The soundtrack is fucking incredible. Cue the music. And while I still think that this movie can feel a little long, I don't even know if it's that long. It's probably like an hour and a half or like 2 hours. Trying to fact check, but I cannot type correctly. Yeah, it's only an hour and 42 minutes, but the middle can feel a little dry in my experience. And the heroine, or not the heroine, but the prisoner in the movie that Lupin is trying to save, feels kind of personalityless a little bit. Like, I didn't super care, but it wraps up in a very cute way. It does make you care a little bit, and overall this movie is a great time. It's probably going to be my highest rated Lupin film. Where are the other ones? Better than these three for sure. Secret. Isn't it The Secret of Momo? It's not The Secret Momo. Why did I type it that? I will check that later. I don't think it's supposed to be called that. Where do we want to drop it? Gathering of the Good feels low. Wow, all these movies are under the skin. No, maybe that's okay, yeah. How about this? Castle of Cag up there. Oh, I lost my place. All these movies, keep going down. Keep going down, buddy. You're going to be okay down there. All those movies down there. Let's put some respect on The Secret of Momo. Bump that up a bit more. The Sixth Sense. It feels mean. I do really like Under the Skin. No, we'll leave the rest of this. The rest of this is fine. Fine for now. Getting dramatic in here. Getting dramatic. Whew. Getting tough. All right, High and Low. Kurosawa film. Not about samurai. The first one I've watched. I know he has a couple that are pretty famous that aren't about samurai. But holy shit. This movie is super good. It's super engaging. I feel bad that this is my reference point, but it gives me like Yakuza tier like dialogue where it's like I've only played like a couple hours of Yakuza 0, but in Yakuza 0 there's like the leaders of the clan and they're just these old grizzled fucks who just like fucking talk to each other and they're very captivating and interesting. This movie has that same energy, except it's like people running a women's shoe company, but they're just as like grizzled and like deadly and serious, and the fucking plot is just really good, man. It's maybe a touch long, and maybe I like the first half more than the second half, but I definitely don't think it ends poorly. There's like a scene in the middle where it's just like police officers going over details of a case for maybe like 10 minutes. And it's like, holy shit, I'm invested. Like, this is a crazy good movie. This was a really surprising movie. This is definitely my favorite Kurosawa so far. Time to fuck Yojimbo up. High and Low, gonna start there for now. Above the Assembly of the Astral. And I'm going to push Yojimbo down a little bit. Them being so far apart is a bit crazy, but all the movies in like this kind of area are all, really good movies. So they're still respected. Okay, I promise. I promise. We are full in the Assembly of the Astral. Some shit is going to get pushed down. I know some of these upcoming movies I'm going to want in that area, if not higher, potentially. We have some bangers coming up, some absolute bangers. So, I'm back from my first intermission, ready to cross off another bunch of these movies. Next up, we have Face Off, which again was a podcast watch along. This time for the theme of 90s action films. This movie stars John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. But through the gimmick of the movie, it has John Travolta pretending to be Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage pretending to be John Travolta, which leads to a lot of fun chemistry. Like, they're both pretty funny at playing each other. And I think this is a John Woo film, too, so some of the action is just bombastic and goes hard. But this movie felt a little bit too long to me. It was a good movie, a good 3-star movie probably, but not one I would rush back to rewatch anytime soon. Emotionally, a little incompetent if I want to be harsh or rude. It's a 90s action movie. I don't think it's trying, or maybe it is trying and it's just not super succeeding in that aspect. Let's put it under the skin. It's under the skin for sure. How under the skin? This open spot seems pretty good. I want to move Shaun of the Dead down. I'm looking at this group right now. We'll save that for later. Okay, we'll just put it in the nice, easy open slot. It's a fine spot. It's fine. Okay, Anatomy of a Fall. This was a pretty chimpy-inspired movie to go see, I think. This movie, a bit of a film festival success story of some sort. I don't super remember. Some movie... It's a French film? Do they speak French? They're either in the French mountains or Swiss mountains. Sorry about that to the French or Swissies out there. But this movie is the best movie I've seen all year to feature a cover of the song PIMP, which is insanely funny. How the beginning of this movie is just so bonkers. It's so bizarre and so weird. And the way it's kind of slowly reveals the greater importance or meaning behind what was going on makes this movie fucking fascinating. It's a great movie. Potentially one that felt a touch long, and there is like a character responsible for like a child at the end of the movie who I think maybe says some things that like I don't know if I can morally agree with, but yeah, I left the movie theater feeling very satisfied on this one. Very satisfied. This was a great film. How great is the question around here? That is the question. How about this? Let's grab a whole fat stack of films. Bump them all down to, and let's put it above North by Northwest, but under The Raid Redemption. I think I didn't delete anything with my copy paste work there. Okay, Mission Impossible. Another 90s action film that I watched for the podcast. Maybe not a super action heavy film. This was fun. This is Tom Cruise, the very first Mission Impossible. This was an example of the podcast providing really great context that I wouldn't have had myself if I just watched the movie. I'm not old enough to know that Mission Impossible was even originally a TV show first, and apparently this movie has some cool crossover where one of the characters from this movie doesn't reprise the character he was from the TV show, but instead plays like a new character, and that's, you know, the way that's conceptually all set up is actually really cool when you know the whole plot of the movie. I actually need to look up the actor list for this movie really quick because, spoiler alert, they killed an actress. There's a character who dies in the beginning of this movie who I have a mega crush on, and I think I spent the rest of the movie sad as fuck that they were gone. Okay, I see the actress's name. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm not going to try to tone down the spoilers for this video. But just know I was devastated. It is funny that Tom Cruise is like a total creep in this movie. And he just is one in general, and he plays one in this movie, but in this movie some of the characters find it charming for some reason, but Mission Impossible succeeds at what I assume it always exceeds at, which is great action sequences. There's like the hack scene, which is extremely classic, iconic. I don't think it's crazy to say. And the ending is bombastic, but I was never bored during this movie. Just a good, solid time. Not a super long film. I think I like it. Man, looking at this pack, it gets me thinking about things. Let's put it above My Darling Clementine, in the Mountain of the Mammoths. Good film, good film. I've heard extremely mixed things about the second Mission Impossible, so leave a comment if I should watch the second one or not. Otherwise, I might not ever continue it. The Long Goodbye. What the fuck is this? The Long Goodbye? My god, this is the biggest blank I've drawn on a movie. I completely forgot about this. This is a movie I heard about from like a YouTuber years ago and just now decided to give it a shot. Also, kind of in that noir kind of theme. I don't know if it's an early color film. I mean, it's 70s, but it's very aesthetically pleasing where, you know, it looks probably like it's made to be a bit older. I don't even know if that's true. I'm not a good assessor of the history of technology, but Robert Gould, no, not Robert, Elliot Gould plays the main character in this, and he is a very fun main character to follow. I think occasionally his like he has like a way of speaking or a laid back manner that sometimes at like the extremes of it, I think just go a bit too far. It's just like at some points he's just a fucking maniac. He's just so weird. But overall, this movie's good. I think the ending I remember felt very rushed, but I think I might just be a user error. It could be like I got left in the dust. The main character puts some things together. I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. What the fuck is going on? What is happening? It's pretty crazy. There's some great like tension scenes. But the kind of familial drama that he kind of gets involved in, you know, isn't bad, but I can't say that it had me like super jacked, super excited. You know, there's some plot lines or character details which are important. Everything's all pretty important at the end, but I was just like, you know, it's fine. It's a good time. I think we'll maybe work in this kind of same area we were before. Take The Long Goodbye. That versus The Usual Suspects is kind of a tough call to me, but we'll put The Long Goodbye above it for now. Next up, we have My Own Private Idaho. I think a very popular movie in lads. And I have to say, I see why. This movie is powerful, man. You know, it's bleak, but, you know, the relationship between Keanu and the main character, who I forget, is fucking really rad. I think occasionally, what's the guy's name? Bob, who's like the leader of like the homeless people. Bob pisses me off. And the way he talks, I think, is ridiculous. And when Keanu also talks like him, I'm like, oh, like, shut the fuck up, dude. I don't fucking care. But when, you know, the story progresses and things happen, I know people speak a lot about, was it the campfire scene or something? The scene where they're like parked at the side of a road. It's like, shit, yeah, this is great. This is fucking really good. And the end of the movie, holy fuck, the ending. It's like absolutely terrifying. It's fucking really spooky. This was a great film. It is crowded at the top. I don't think I'm gonna have a problem making a little bit of space for it. Call Me By Your Name versus My Own Private Idaho. Oh. These are both good. Are they both better than Velvet Blue? I don't know. Let's put them together. You know, it's the easy way out, but for now, look at this fucking group we have to grab to make some room. We get 2 spaces. Let's take them both. My Own Private Idaho. Next to Call Me By Your Name for now. Bottom of the Assembly of the Astral. Good film. Okay, Citizen Kane. Historically, maybe the most important film of all time. I don't know. People get crazy. I don't know what's actually true or not. But I can see why. This is a 40s film. Orson Welles, right? Am I wrong? Maybe the inventor of kind of the rise and falls story. I don't want to say that for sure. But this movie is sick. It, like all rise and fall stuff, you know, at some points I think like certain flashbacks or certain scenes, I'm like, this wasn't as interesting as the last one, or this kind of familial drama is like, it's okay. But any like environment shots and just the shots in general of this movie are fucking creative. Anytime they show his like castle estate, or there's like a shot, maybe like the first time his wife is performing in like the opera or whatever, and like the camera just keeps going up and up and up, and I'm like, this was the 40s. This was a 40s film. I can see why it's impressive in a lot of ways, and yeah, I think the message of the ending also was good. This was a slow grower, but I can see why it's an important film. Again, I don't think it's going to personally rank super high. This is an opinion I've heard from other people, but I kind of agree where it's an extremely important, extremely influential movie. But it's a movie that, hundreds of movies have riffed on, and in a lot of ways have improved on with newer technology and stuff like that. So let's find a place for it. Let's throw it on top of Prisoners. Wait, how does this work? Oh god, I'm scared. I'm scared. Seems about right. Bottom of the Council of the Courageous for now. It's gonna get bumped down some more, but good spot for now. Good spot for now. Fun historical watch. Okay, the last temp movie of the year. Can't remember if there was anything else. I think it might be Almost Famous, a coming of age story about a boy meeting his heroes. This movie fucking ruled. This movie was great. It features that one actor who I always think of as Coach Frank. If you've played Skate, you know what's up. It has Jason Lee. Yeah, I should watch more movies with Jason Lee. I think he's funny. But this is a great movie. I was afraid that it might have a bit more kind of like awkward, growing up situations that, generally I just don't find super entertaining. But this movie is pretty efficient. Everything feels well done. No scene was like, okay, this is tropey or like, whatever. It's all a great time. I think the final argument or whatever and the plane is great. There's the female lead in this. Let me check her name. Kate Hudson, is that her? She does a really great job at just her whole performance, her character arc in the beginning. You very quickly think what kind of character she is and her relationship with other people, but by the end it's like shit. It's like, you weren't exactly wrong, but she's just so much more sympathetic, and she does some really nice stuff at the end, and so does everyone. Kind of squares up at the end in a way that felt very satisfying. So this was a great film. See, emotionally it's not as powerful as Mary and Max, but Mary and Max is also just a bit weirder. So I think these are the 3 temp movies. I like this on top of Anatomy of a Fall and below The Raid Redemption. This is a good film. Not quite the emotional knockout that Mary and Max is, but feels more easily rewatchable. It's a good film. Tokyo Godfather, Satoshi Kon, the movie Chimpy is quoted as saying, "Oh, Jake will never watch it." Well, guess what, Chimpy? I did. They put it in theaters, and I went. I love Satoshi Kon. I knew I would love this film. I did know that it features some LGBT representation that, you know, is positive towards the characters, but it, you know, it's a realistic timepiece of Japan, and there are some people being mean, cruel to characters of LGBT nature, which isn't easy to watch. You know, it has some bad things, but this movie, you know, it's showing them in a very positive light. You know, it's meant you're not supposed to, you know, I don't think anybody watching this movie would say that it's, you know, badly done or poorly executed or anything. This movie is great. I'm going to check one of the character names. I call her Prototype Paprika. There's like the younger girl character, Miyuki. Yeah, Miyuki, who looks a lot like Paprika, I think. Different hair color. But just Miyuki is just a gift factory, man. This movie's so expressive. The whole movie is just like a facial reaction, you know, gold mine. They're so funny. They're clearly like not super honest about their feelings with each other, and you know, there's some tense moments that come up from it, but they really do look out for each other. This movie ends on such a, you know, nail biter scene. It's like, fuck, you know, you wish the movie could go like an extra like 15, 20 minutes to like see what happens, but you know, it does make sense as a good place to end it. This movie also has potentially the only acceptable boob joke I've ever seen in anime. A lot of that humor is just very, you know, not for me. But I swear this movie has a joke about, you know, that kind of area anime joke that if you've seen the movie, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. So funny. There's like gifs of it on Discord that would be really weird to post without context. But that was a great fucking movie and a great moment in the film. And this was just a great movie. Easily going to sit above Yojimbo in this kind of section here. I don't really know if I had any negatives about the film. Better than Porco Rosso is a tough ask, though. It might just slide in under it. Really grateful that I got to see it this year. The only sad thing now is that there isn't really any Satoshi Kon films left to watch. He made a TV show. I can watch that, but that's about it. We're running. We've almost run out. That man is a legend. Speaking of legends, and speaking of animated films, I also went to see How Do You Live? AKA The Boy and the Heron. Miyazaki's most recent film. Ghibli's most recent film. Also, this movie is fucking beautiful, and I said to my friend Miles that it's like, damn, is it cool and special that this guy is still making movies? I want him to take care of himself, not work himself to death, but he's extremely talented and extremely fun. I was blown away by how kind of quiet this movie is. Like, it very much has a lot of themes, and it takes largely in this like mystical kind of world. It's very content to not explain things, leave you to like think about connections or reasons. And I think personally in the ending, it's maybe a little abrupt to me with some certain aspects of everything that's going on. But it's absolutely still a joy to see the creativeness of the world and the rules that govern it. The characters, the fucking parrots in this movie are so funny. This was a great movie to watch. I'm going to rate it pretty highly, but not as highly as calling the cream of the crop of animated stuff I watched this year. But this feels like a movie that on a rewatch you could really appreciate a lot more. You could get a lot more out of it. What looks like a good spot for it? Maybe right next to Puss in Boots. No, we'll go one under it. No, it's above The Last Duel. Okay, it's been decided. All this shit's going down. Push it down. Tumbling down, tumbling down. Where did I decide I was putting it? Above Marion Max seems high, potentially. But it's better than The Last Duel. Let's do this. The Last Duel is good. It's just a bit too much. Okay, we feel good. Good enough for now. It's gonna be a long reassessment period at the end. Okay. Okay, let's finish it out. I'm getting cold in my apartment. I turn off the heater to record so it doesn't make noise. And it is freezing in Oklahoma right now. The Fifth Element. A surprisingly ambitious sci-fi film. Only a week after I jokingly shit-talked Bruce Willis. I found a Bruce Willis movie that I actually really like. He's good in this. He's funny. And this film, occasionally certain aspects of the futuristic elements fall short, but it's always trying. It's always pushing. And it succeeds quite a bit. In particular, I think the scene is pretty famous where the diva is singing and there's some like combat going on. I was like, fucking hell, this is fun. This is really fun. The villain's like henchman is fun. The connection between the big bad and the henchman, it's like a little confusing to me. A little confusing if I actually think about it, but gonna rate this movie with pretty high marks. The one stupid joke I was making to myself is that the alien girl in this movie has Rugrats hair. I don't know if it's a funny joke. I told it to one of my friends and I don't think they really laughed, but it gets me going. Let's put it above Mission Impossible. Maybe Mission Impossible is too high. Okay, we got a lot of space to push stuff around. We didn't delete anything, right? I think everything's okay. If we accidentally delete something, it's going to be an absolute mess to try to figure out where it's supposed to go. For now, let's put it around here. Seems like a good spot for it. The Fifth Element. Batman Returns. This is another podcast movie that I watched, which is funny because it's the second Tim Burton Batman movie, and I didn't watch the first one. But I watched this one under the theme of Christmas movies, and this is a fucking terrible movie. This movie was so hard to get through. Occasionally, the Tim Burton like style with like the miniatures, like the shots of like the cities and stuff, look really great. I mean, like the performances are like mostly fine. It's just, you know, the connective tissue, the the final story. It's fucking slog, man. It's an absolute slog. Not that this stat like really upsets me or anything, but apparently this is like what, like a 2-hour movie, and Batman is only in it for like 30 minutes or something like that is like an actual fact. It's like Batman is not the main character of this movie at all. This movie is worse than the Super Mario movie. You know, Lucy is bad. Lucy isn't that bad. Put that there. There's potentially a case that Batman Returns, the Tim Burton like 80s film or 90s film, whatever it is might be worse than A Night at the Roxbury, but we will think on that and come back to it sometime. Okay. The Departed, the Martin Scorsese film that I didn't know was a Martin Scorsese film. This film is like extremely stacked cast-wise if you like white guys in Scorsese's films. It's got DiCaprio, Damon, and Wahlberg, who all give pretty fun performances. The most Boston movie I've ever seen. The accents are off the fucking charts. That was one thing in The Last Duel. Sometimes they don't even try to do the accents. Departed, they're all accents all the time. This movie was slightly eye-rolling in the beginning. It's funny, I didn't know it was Scorsese. I was like, oh, it's a fucking mafia movie. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of great mafia films I still haven't seen, but I just don't get excited for them. I'm just like, oh, great. It's the mafia, rise and fall shtick again. Here we go. Luckily, this movie is pretty different. It's pretty different. The way it kind of has, you know, two sides, two perspectives, and kind of the chase that happens as a part of that is very fun. I think what happens to DiCaprio's character is like fucking kind of terrifying. I think some things he does at the end are like maybe questionable. And I read some reviews that were like, holy shit, the elevator scene, man? Are you kidding me? And I was just like, it was just so over the top that I wasn't quite like jaw to the floor, mind blown. I was like, okay, well, it's a fucking mess is what it is. It's just a goddamn mess. But all that said, this was still a pretty great movie to watch. I liked it. I would rewatch this film. Somewhere around here. Let's resort Mission Impossible while we're here. Mission Impossible should be like around RoboCop. Seems good. It's just a bit too hype. Scrooged, another Christmas movie I watched as part of the podcast watch along. This is like a modern retelling. Modern. It's like a 90s or 80s film or something. It's basically The Christmas Carol happens to a TV producer who is also producing a TV version of The Christmas Carol. And Bill Murray is kind of just a terrible person. He's funny if you want to see Bill Murray just be an asshole for like 2 hours. There's some funny jokes. It's entertaining. But doesn't super emotionally connect to me. I think he takes a really long time to like get the point of The Christmas Carol or what his character is like supposed to be learning, and by the time he learns, the ending is very abrupt. Now the ending speech is fucking like really long when he's turned the leaf, he's ready to be a better person, but I just don't fully 100% buy into it. I kind of find the take that like, oh, he just wakes up the next day and he's just an asshole again to be like potentially really plausible in this movie. But that being said, he does nail a couple very strong emotional like one-liners in his speech. He does occasionally really summarize the spirit of Christmas well. But this movie is just okay. It's just okay. Around here, maybe. Department of the Decent. Finally, we get like a full-on mediocre kind of movie. This dude has the most loyal fucking girlfriend of all time. He's such a fucking piece of shit. And he gets like 5 chances. He's so fucking... Those scenes are painful. The final Christmas movie I watched this year, and I watched it the day after Christmas. The way the podcast ordered it is they watched Scrooge first and then this. I should have watched this movie before Christmas. Holy fuck. It's a Wonderful Life. I was going to watch this at some point because the reviews are too good. But damn, I think you could maybe criticize that, like, this movie is also kind of like back heavy, where it's like very slowly and meticulously kind of deploying the characters' like backstory, and then the ending is more abrupt-ish kind of. But my response to that would be I was never bored at all during the movie. It does have some scenes of people, you know, being destructive to relationships and stuff, which can be tough. But when it's written and the motivations are clear and it's very understandable in this environment, and I fucking cried very happy tears at the end of this movie. I was blown away by the ending. I knew this film was going to be great, and it's easily something I'm going to watch. Maybe not every year, but if I ever find somebody who hasn't seen it, we are going to watch it together. We are going to watch it together. Let's grab all these, push them down to my loyal Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence. It's finally hit the mosh and the mediocre where it belongs. Let's take It's a Wonderful Life. And God, it hurts me. I love Local Hero so much, man. I do. You guys know I love Local Hero. I won't fuck around and lie about that. It's so good. But It's a Wonderful Life is better. It's just better. This movie was too good. You love a movie about a good, caring, selfless character who eventually has things go his way. That film rules. Ferrari. Newest theater film I've seen, I believe. What is this? Is this Michael Mann? Is that the guy who made it? I have not watched very much Michael Mann, but I know he's pretty popular, pretty successful. I gotta say, I like Adam Driver, and I like Penelope Cruz, I think is her name. All kind of the leading cast in this is great. This is a movie where I do find the car stuff more interesting, but the family kind of drama is also equally as interesting, that I'm just on board the whole way. I do think that this movie should come with subtitles. Dialogue is very hard to understand. Felt like I misunderstood or didn't understand some important sentences. And the camera is so shaky, which I know it's cars, it's high speed, it's dangerous. But it's just like, holy fuck. Holy fuck is the camera shaky in this. And yeah, my jaw was kind of to the floor for, you know, the grand finale, I guess you would call it, of the car race at the end. This movie also is just, I don't know, it doesn't stop and really dwell on stuff too much, at least like the race kind of stuff. It's just like extremely serious stuff will happen on the track, and it's just like, you know, we got to deal with it now. You know, like, we're not going to reminisce on it. It does not really waste too much of your time, like slow-mos or replays or anything. There is some slow-mo, but this was a good, entertaining film where I wasn't bored, but I'm not going to rank it a full-on knockout. I think somewhere around the Mountain of the Mammoths we can find a good spot for it. I like it right around here. That seems good. You could maybe swap Fifth Element and Ferrari, but I'm gonna take the open space and not create much more work for myself. But unfortunately, we have to do more work because I also watched Full Metal Jacket, a Stanley Kubrick joint. that was really good. This was, uh, a movie of kind of two tales, and it's. I think it's obvious that the beginning half of the movie won't last forever, and eventually things will change. But the beginning is very interesting, and it's extremely well shot. Just the ending to the beginning half, kind of the character arcs, is just like crazy. It's really good. It's like 12 out of 10. You could just watch the boot camp for like ever if it was that good always. I think in the second half, some of the like connections between the characters definitely maybe get like a little muddled, but it's still just beautifully horrific. Like the shots, the scenes, it's definitely probably not the most intense war movie of all time, but it has its moments, and what it ends on doesn't particularly feel super climactic, but in hindsight it gives you a lot to like think about. I think this is going to be a high ranking movie for me. Let's do this and throw Full Metal Jacket above Yojimbo, below Tokyo Godfathers. Assembly of the Astral is now packed, and I feel pretty good about that because these next three movies are not going to be anywhere near the top. In fact, The Fury, 1978. This is a De Palma film. What's his name? Brian De Palma. About people with psychic powers and kind of a CIA hunt kind of thing. This movie has fun action and is occasionally, beautifully shot. But I just didn't get emotionally super invested. It felt slightly campy in maybe ways that were unintentional. But it's not a bad film. It's just an okay one. Perhaps maybe just a good one. I like this film around Thief, maybe? Yeah, let's take Thief down. Oh man, I'm maybe regretting that. Maybe Thief is too high. Let's put The Fury. Let's leave it there. I suspect these movies are going to be shuffled a bit before we're fully locked in. And next we have Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. I actually have seen bits and pieces of this movie before. I was actually pretty impressed that because of like the freezing plot device that like this movie actually hasn't aged like that poorly. Like there's some inappropriate jokes, but like Austin Powers is being inappropriate in the movie, and it's a little bit about him, learning to, still be himself, but more accepted in the new age. But that's, I'm starting the Austin Powers review on an awfully weird note. This movie is occasionally comedic gold. It's occasionally, kind of dragging for a 90-minute movie. But there's some god tier jokes in here. I watched this with Lobster, and he tells me the second one is better. So I'll probably try that one sometime in 2024. The joke where he's trying to like turn around the golf cart in that narrow hallway, fucking hilarious. One of the best jokes of the year. I would not have been mad if they like kept that shot going for like another minute or two. There's like a point later where they run back past it. It's just stuck sideways. Oh, that is such a great bit. That is great. That is groovy, baby, as Austin Powers would say. I kind of like putting this one right next to our old friend Top Secret. The two spoof movies next to each other. There's been a lot of kind of this similar grouping going on. Black Dynamite, I watched Austin Powers Lobster, and I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do for the rest of the night. My back has been kind of hurting, and I was just like, just kind of comfortable on the couch. It's like, I'll watch another short film, and this one popped up. It's like, I haven't seen it before. I'll try it. The kind of, I don't know what you would call it, like, everything is like got this kind of like golden haze to it. You know, I think it's emulating like a TV show, kind of non-serious style. This is also a pretty funny film, and the main character is obviously different than Austin Powers, but he's got his own style that's very fun to watch, very fun to follow. I think occasionally certain bits in this movie do slightly lose me. The plot lines, you know, the whole movie's crazy, but at certain points it kind of pushes itself a little too far in my opinion. But the choreography is always great. Black Dynamite's always funny. And overall, this was a really pleasant film to end the year on. I don't think it's going to be quite at the top. Maybe, how about this? Marion Max down to the girl with the dragon tattoo. Black Dynamite fits in there. I can't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. We have finished the fucking list. But we're gonna need to review it, and I think the review could take a little bit of energy, a little bit of effort. Things could get crazy. So I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be back to finish the list. So, yo, what is up? It is January 2nd. I've slept on the list, and it's about damn time that we set the record straight. We finish what we goddamn started. I'm gonna take a full rundown on the list and try to sort it out. It's going to be impossible, but if there's anything that stands out, we're gonna fix it. So, okay. This will probably be like a fast forward montage kind of. Okay, this is, a very difficult process, and I don't think we're gonna really come to an easy, perfect answer. Feel free to give any feedback or comments you may have. I'm sure I listed some things incorrectly, but based on my opinion, this was the best we got today. Okay, this was the best we got. Let's go over the full list in its entirety. I've added scores on the right for what I would rate these movies with my own scale, which isn't super well thought out. And I don't give half points, half stars. You want to imagine these are stars. But scale from 5 to 1. 5 is the cream of the crop. 4 is extremely good, but not, some flaws, some things that you can point to. 3, a good movie. I easily recommend any movie in this category to anybody who's interested. Just, not quite the upper echelon. 2, this is probably the most divisive category. Some of these movies are good, and I would recommend, maybe more so at the top, but they were also kind of beginning to become forgettable. The bottom half of 2 is especially kind of okay, we're getting into some shit now. And then 1 is absolute unfortunate garbage. Not to be rude, but I wouldn't recommend any of those movies if you wanted to watch something good. So let's go over the full list. Front to top. At the top, there were very little changes. We still have Gosford Park reigning supreme, my number 1 movie of the year. Top 1. representing the Guardians of the Great. We have Once Upon a Time in the West, which is a close call between this and Gosford Park still. American Psycho, The Grand Budapest Hotel, It's a Wonderful Life. Still very sad, local hero couldn't make it. But yeah, still highly recommend that movie. Still getting a 5-star score. The Assembly of the Astral turned out to be absolutely packed with a gabillion movies and a lot of stuff sadly moving down that also potentially could deserve it, but not many changes in this category with Local Hero, Asteroid City, The Thin Man, Casablanca, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Showing Up, High and Low, Howl's Moving Castle, Porco Rosso, Tokyo Godfathers, Full Metal Jacket, Yo Jimbo, Dread 2012, Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, and Velvet Blue. Beginning to dip into the 4-star movies. Still a score to be very proud of. I am thinking more and more about Letterboxd. Maybe I would like a Letterboxd account. I don't know. I'll keep thinking about it. That's a maybe on me. Representing the Council of the Courageous, we have Call Me By Your Name, My Own Private Idaho, Oppenheimer, The Handmaiden, Killers of the Flower Moon, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Shutter Island, The Raid Redemption, Almost Famous, Anatomy of a Fall, North by Northwest, Mary and Max, How Do You Live, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Last Duel, Paris, Texas, His Girl Friday, Sword of the Stranger, Parasite, One Piece Film Red, and Sanjuro. There was some movement in this category today with Sanjuro again going down. I think His Girl Friday went up a bit, and I know I put Mary and Max above How Do You Live. Can't remember if there was anything changes, but there was a slight shuffle here with Sword of the Stranger. I think also went up a little bit. Coming into the Mountain of the Mammoths, and about to hit our 3-star movies with Psycho, Ninja Scroll, Prisoners, The Big Lebowski, The Maltese Falcon, Citizen Kane, which I think went down in today's shuffle a little bit, To Live and Die in LA, The Great Silence, The Fifth Element, The Long Goodbye, The Usual Suspects, The Departed, Ferrari, My Darling Clementine, Place Beyond the Pines, Rango, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Reservoir Dogs, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Wow, this is a huge category. These are the mammoths for sure. Some really great movies in here. I know Citizen Kane, as I said, went down a little bit. I can't remember if there was much change to anything else. I think the rest of this is held pretty stable. The Gathering of the Good, we have RoboCop, Mission Impossible, The Warriors, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Black Dynamite, Demolition Man, One Piece Film Gold, One Piece Strong World, Castle of Cagliostro, Lupin the Third, Secret of Mamo, and Barbie, representing The Gathering of the Good. I don't think there were any changes to this row. Still holding on to some 3 stars. We're heading into the 3s and the 2s with Under the Skin, Sin City, The Sixth Sense, Police Story, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Raging Bull, Shaun of the Dead, Top Secret, Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, Some Voices, Clue, Vampire, Lupin the Third versus Detective Conan, Lupin the Third the First, Lupin the Third versus Cat's Eye. This section went under some huge reconstruction. I know calling some of these movies 2 stars may be controversial, but I'm randomly a very strict critic, apparently. Where a lot of these 2 stars at the top are good films, and I would recommend. But just starting around here is when I felt like we should make the cutoff. I think today the Sixth Sense got bumped up a bit, and like these 3 after it kind of fell down a bit. I know Some Voices went up a bit. but that all kind of connects into the next region, which is the Department of the Decent, which starts off with Face Off, The Life Aquatic featuring Steve Zissou, Dial M for Murder, The Fury, Thief 1981, Gun Crazy, The Running Man, Detective Story, and Intimate Confessions of a Chinese Courtesan, and The Nice Guys. I forgot there's one more. Here we're getting into some really controversial stuff. I think Face Off to like Gun Crazy used to be above the Lupin films. Agonized over it. I agonized over it. Lupin's too much of a guilty pleasure. I wouldn't exactly say these films, again, are terrible, but they really didn't strongly connect with me, unfortunately. So, some shockingly low picks for movies like these, I'm sure. But they're still decent. I mean, come on. And the Mosh of the Mediocre. We have Scrooged, Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence. Okay. I completely overlooked Scrooged. I want to move The Nice Guys further down, but I won't. Scrooged is done. We're done. We're not changing anything else, surely. Surely my opinions are all very solid and strong, and I won't regret any of this tomorrow. This will all be great. And The Nice Guys should maybe be lower, but I see so much positivity about this film. Okay. The new at the top of the Mosh to the Mediocre is Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence, which really I need to rewatch, but a 2-star score seems about right for that. Sonic the Hedgehog, which can't remember if I did that earlier in the video, but that has been bumped up quite a bit. I think Scrooged, Lucy, The Mirror Cracked, Lupin the Third, 7 Days Rhapsody, the Super Mario Bros. Movie 2023, Street Fighter 2 animated movie, Batman Returns, A Night at the Roxbury, Morocco, and The Room. Now, I think there was quite a bit of shakeups here. Calling some of these movies 1-star movies will probably upset some people, but I sadly have to inform you that my opinion is that I was pretty miserable during every movie here. Lucy being a 2-star movie is kind of funny, but I I think that's okay. It's really borderline between 2 or 1 star. But I know Sonic stocks are up, Scrooge stocks are down. I think this Lupin movie went super down today. The Super Mario Brothers movie is down. This is all down. And the controversial decision is I was really thinking between Morocco and The Room, and I was like, they're both terrible films. Which one's worse? It's like, well, Morocco's more unique. You guys, nobody knows what fucking Morocco is. But I went to Letterboxd. Apparently, some people do know what Morocco is. And apparently, I'm insane for not liking it. Because I'm the only motherfucker on planet Earth who doesn't like Morocco. People love this fucking movie. It's got 0 bad ratings. There's 4 ratings of 2 stars only. 5 5-star ratings. I mean, these people are just. I can't relate, but that's how you guys feel seeing my opinions. That's the fun of it, really. It's like, maybe I was being too harsh on this. The Room, I decided, is actually just, despicably bad. And everyone knows it. So while it's not as exciting, I decided on The Room being our bottom boy, our absolute worst movie of the year. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. The year is done. It is 2024. I haven't watched any movies yet. But if you like this, let me know. Thanks to anybody who watched it. This series was really long. Maybe next year I'll think about ways to make it faster. Maybe I'll watch less movies, but I kind of like talking about them a little bit rather than just placing them or just showing my list. But yeah, be sure to give me any feedback you guys have, and hope you guys all have a wonderful 2024.